law and legal consultant with over 10 years experience in the field, specializing in issues relating to the welfare of children. Ms. Shaw has developed several training manuals for use by social services practitioners within the child protection system, conducted legal seminars and workshops to train persons involved in the legal processes related to families and children, drafted and prepared the Legal Information Manual for Legal Information Bureaus, LIB, for the Government of Belize/UNDP, conducted training of the officers working in the LIBs, and prepared promotional pamphlets used by the LIBs. She has conducted the vulnerability analysis of the child protection system in Belize for UNICEF, and a vulnerability analysis of the juvenile justice system. Ms. Shaw has also drafted the proposed law bill prohibiting the commercial sexual exploitation of children, CSEC, ILO, developed Belize's care model for CSEC, ILO, and National Child Labor Policy, GOB. Ms. Shaw is children's rights advocate and has extensive knowledge of Belize's child protection system. She is also a director of Marla's House of Hope, the chairperson of the Child Development Foundation, and the chairperson of the Cayo Christian Academy. Please help me in welcoming Ms. Shaw.
Good afternoon. Just to give you a little bit of overview of how we came about doing this situation analysis, and I may have to move around a little bit because I'm kind of short and this podium is exposed. First of all, we did a literature review of the different studies that had been done in Belize that looked at protection of children, and especially the study in 2006 that was commissioned by the ILO that looked at the commercial sexual exploitation of children. In your package, you have a summary of the results of that study, and it is very good reading material. You also have this presentation on the DVD that I will ask that you look at this afternoon, because some of the information in it you're going to need for your small group work tomorrow. All right? We also did a focus group discussion just two weeks ago to get an updated viewpoint from social workers as to what they were experiencing now that they were completely in charge of this issue of CSEC, and now that they were the ones that were implementing the care model protocol. What was it that they were experiencing? What were they seeing? What were the linkages that were coming out with trafficking? And we also interviewed somebody that was involved with the pilot project before, that's no longer with YES, but has been involved in working with some of those cases. And we interviewed some youths as well to find out what was their perception, what was it that they were finding and hearing in school and in their youth groups, in their sporting clubs, and different situations about what was going on in 2010 about this issue of CSEC, whether they even knew what that was, which was interesting. Some of them did, some of them didn't. And we also interviewed some community advocates that were working with victims, and this gave us the background information. Belize has done a lot, and you have heard some of it mentioned before in terms of addressing this issue from a policy framework and also a legal framework objective. We have looked at, for instance, in 2002, there was a study that was done on sexual exploitation of women and children in Belize, and that was by UNICEF. That was one of the first issues that identified that there was an issue with the commercialization of sexual abuse. Then in 2004, we did a vulnerability analysis of children and adolescents, which identified gaps in the institutional response to how we were dealing with the child protection system. 2006 is the seminal study that I mentioned before on the commercial sexual exploitation of children, and this to date is still the only published work on this issue. So the statistics that we have for the prevalence of CSEC, the trends that have been identified have come out from this study. It has not been updated, and we don't have a present study that's going on with it. In 2007, the law bill was drafted, and you heard Ms. Alpuche spoke earlier about incorporating, the move now is incorporating those provisions into the Trafficking Act, which has already been enacted and is already being implemented. In 2007 to 2009 was the pilot project with YES, and you heard Ms. Kane speak about that this morning, and this project went very well. They addressed over 100 victims and had successful removals of many of those victims. 2008, the care model protocol was drafted and it was validated and is implemented. So there is an existing care model protocol, and what it does is that it sets out who are the different stakeholders responsible for what aspect of the response for CSEC, what do they do, how do their work interrelate with each other. That has already been done, and there was preliminary training done with stakeholders, and that was sponsored by ILO. But since the project has ended, there has been no new training on that care model. And a lot of those persons, especially within the police, who were trained in that care model response are no longer in the unit that they were in when they received that training. So there is definitely a need for upgrading that training and training the people that are there. We have also had a high turnover of staff within the Department of Human Services with social workers as well since that care model. So some of the very social workers who are actually using this care model have not been trained